Hey y'all, Gary with Tennessee Stands, and I love doing these interviews with folks around Tennessee and sharing stories and perspectives um, from folks who are experiencing the same things that you and I are experiencing over this last year, especially. And so today, here actually from Williamson County, I want to bring in our friend Shima.
Hi,
Who,
Gary.
hi, how are you?
Good. How are
And
you?
I think Shima's been following Tennessee Stands for a bit and reached out regarding her story and her perspective and how she's experienced these mandates and restrictions over the last year. So, uh, Shima, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you moved here from California, but you're originally from Iran, and so you've got, I think, a unique perspective on several levels in
Yeah.
what we've experienced here in Tennessee.
Yeah. So I have lived in the States for 22 years. And I lived in California for a few years. I lived in Tennessee since 2007. I grew up, born and raised in Iran. So I have lived half my life there, most half my life here.
Wow.
And yeah, I've seen it all
Yeah,
in
no
my
kidding.
own personal life.
Well, and interestingly, I mean, that's a bunch of varying perspectives in terms of Iran, and then you've got California, which right now we have California refugees who are fleeing that
Absolutely.
state coming into Tennessee,
Yeah.
and so what I want to, I'm interested in your perspective because one of the things that I've been noticing, and I've talked to a lot of
Mhm.
people about, is this idea when you hear someone say, and when you think about masks and the vaccine requirements and whatever the restrictions are in Tennessee, people that have lived here their whole lives, or maybe have lived in the South their whole lives, or
Mhm.
maybe just sort of America in general, it's like what you look at a place like Iran, or you look at China, or you look at somewhere where an American would think, oh well, it's just really bad over there. and
Yeah.
and in Tennessee especially, we think, oh well, that can never happen here,
Yeah.
that'll never happen in Tennessee.
Yeah.
But what's interesting to me is when I speak to people coming here from California, especially who are moving here right now, they're saying, well, we didn't really think that this could happen in California either, because just so you know, this sort of looks like California about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to sort of take that idea and then let
Yeah.
you speak to that, especially coming from Iran and
Mhm.
seeing, experiencing some of the things you're seeing now.
Yeah. Well, we never think that's going to personally happen to us anywhere. I was born into the war in Iran. I wasn't born before the revolution. I was born after, but I've heard plenty of stories of how it happened, how the country was taken over and people just bowed to tyranny, and nobody said no. They just thought that it's going to be over any minute. Things are going to go back to normal. And it's been 42 years. And I've witnessed the same thing this past year here from the same people. I'm going to talk from my personal experience and my own um, family and friends, people I witnessed that have fled Iran to have a better future in America for their children, to have freedom. um, they have easily bowed to this, um, I would say, illegal rules of masking themselves and masking their children without questioning anything, without studying anything, looking at the data. That's the first thing I did. I was afraid at first, like any. I think most all of us were afraid in the beginning for the first few days. Then I looked around, I looked at the data, I listened to the doctors, I thought about everything, and I realized that this is not what it is. So I never wore a mask because it was traumatizing to witness what I grew up in all over again in the United States, in Tennessee. So I don't know, pretty much it's terrifying to watch my family and friends to just close their eyes and their minds and say yes to whatever the TV says.
I mean,
The media controls everything.
yeah, I mean, from your experience, you know, you said when you were explaining what it was like,
Yeah.
what hit me is you said, well, wait a minute, we were told just to wait and it's all going to go back to normal.
2 weeks. So we can give a break to the hospitals and to the nurses.
Well, no, but I mean, you said that same thing when you were talking about back in Iran.
Oh yeah. Do you know how many times I heard that? Oh, it's gonna be over. Someone's gonna come and save us. There's gonna be a savior. You know, things will change.
People were always looking to the outside and not themselves being the solution.
Themselves. Exactly.
Wow.
My dad watched the news 24/7, waiting for a news from America. America, come and save Iran. You know, we never did anything ourselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's real, you know, that's really, I know you've been following. That's been a consistent message from Tennessee Stands in terms of saying, look, in America, the beautiful thing about the way that our government works is that we literally are a government that only draws its legitimacy because we consent to it. And
we have a constitution.
That's right. And what I see happening right now is people are saying, well, this is unconstitutional. This is unconstitutional. And that's true. But
what are we doing about it?
But it doesn't matter that it's unconstitutional if you continue to consent to it.
Exactly. Exactly. We are complying with what's told us. We don't work for the government. The government works for us, for we the people. It's in the Constitution. It's right there in front of our eyes. But we cannot sit down and wait for you, Gary, Tennessee Stands, to do something for us. We need to get involved. I'm very much involved in my own page. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't even see my stories. They don't pay attention. They unfollow me, block me. There's a resistance to the truth. But it's okay. Even if I reach one person, two people, it's okay. If I reach a few mamas out there, you know, I'm a mother. I am standing up for my children more than anything. There's a saying that says, plant a tree, even if you cannot enjoy the shadow yourself. You sit under that tree, plant it, because for other generations, they're gonna be safe under that, you know? That's what we are doing. We are doing it for our children. We have to be outspoken. This is the time that we go out there and we talk about all the issues. I'm probably the only Persian I know that is active or actively talking about it.
I'm curious about what do you think that is? Because I remember sort of reading the message you sent to us. It would seem to me that people like you who have come from a place of tyranny and experienced it and saw it firsthand, it would seem to me that so many of those people would recognize what's happening and be willing to stand. Why do you think that is, that other Persians like yourself are not willing to stand up to what they're seeing?
Most Persians are very democratic. They think democracy means freedom. They have the wrong idea of democracy. They watch, I'm going to be honest, they watch the media. They watch CNN, MSNBC. I don't watch the news. I do not watch TV. I don't own a cable. My husband's family had a big role in this, I think. My mother-in-law is pretty God-loving. She loves the Constitution. She loves this country. And I love her. And she has opened me up to many, many things. I think she's the one that really opened my heart to everything. I used to watch, the media. I used to read the magazines, the gossip magazine. I was that person. That's why I don't judge the people who don't see it yet, because I used to be that. I found I always loved God, but I found God in a new way this past year.
Mm.
I'm not religious because I was born in religion, but I love Jesus, and I think there's only one way to the light,
Amen to that.
and I think I have found my people, and I'm so grateful for it. Very
Well,
blessed.
welcome to your people. That is amazing.
Thank you. And I
Uh,
pray a lot for my fellow Iranians
yes.
because I think deep down they killed the God in them. I
Mm.
think the Islamic Republic just killed something. They cannot kill it. They dimmed something inside of them. So I pray that they find it again. They find that light so they can fight.
Yeah.
We need to fight. Freedom is not free.
That's
It's not
absolutely right.
free.
So I'd love to hear a little more about your personal experience, if you don't mind sharing, and some of the things
No,
you've
well,
experienced recently in terms of I know you've got a little one on the way, right?
yes, we are
Congratulations. That's
pregnant.
amazing.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
and so I know you've had some battles just dealing with some of these requirements and mandates in your current
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. So I pretty much avoided going places that required a mask, like mandated masks. I would walk in places that mandated, but they didn't say anything to me. I've gone to Costco, to Whole Foods, um, but we got pregnant, and I had to go do my ultrasound. The first ultrasound at 8 weeks, and as usual, I walk without the mask. And the first thing they do, they either hand you a mask or they ask you for your mask, or you cannot be in here. And then I get emotional. It's an emotional thing. And they ask for your exemption letter. I said I'm exempt because literally I get anxiety because I grew up with the forced hijab. Um, from when you go to school from 7 years old, a girl is required to wear hijab in Iran. I'm traumatized, but there's no law that I need to explain that to anyone here. I can just say I'm exempt. I don't need to show you my letter. I don't need to show you anything. But they have treated us so badly. They almost didn't let us in. And even though we asked if we can have our child in the exam room, they did not allow us to do that. So my husband and my 3.5-year-old then had to sit in the waiting room and FaceTime me while I was doing our first ultrasound, which is the most exciting time for any woman, for any family.
Absolutely.
I was crying through this whole experience. I cried the whole time because I couldn't believe what I've gone through. It was horrible.
I think that's such an incredible perspective that I hope anyone watching this in Tennessee and just a southern raised American can try to identify with the fact
Yeah.
that you growing up as a little girl
Mhm.
were forced by your government to cover your entire face. You know what that's like.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
that's like day in and day out. And you know, I mean, yeah, I would imagine it just I guess it felt, I don't know. By the way, did that ever feel normal to you? Because you
No,
grew up
no.
in the culture, but did that ever feel like it was normal?
I lived a double life. In public, I was required to be something that I'm not in private. My family was an open-minded family. We did not wear hijab. We did, normal, like here, like we gathered, we partied, um, drinking, but everything was in private. It was a secret. When I go to school, and I hate lying. Maybe that's why I hate lying so much. Because going to school, I had to pretend to be something else. Totally, opposite, just so I can get along, so I can survive that environment. So you learn how to cope, but you never change. My heart never understood. There was no logic into that. Just like now, there's no logic into this whole entire 1.5 year, I should say. Nothing. Science, I love science. I look at science. Science does not support what happened this past year.
Well, I love the whole thing about, it's not who I am, and you've got to be one person in private, and then you've got
Yeah.
to put on your show for everyone else.
Yeah. You got to have a
And
mask on.
yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. But I bet you a lot of people, a lot of my generation got messed up mentally, because that's not that's mentally frustrating for a kid to go through, to learn how to live a double life.
Yeah, why
Messed
why
up.
is it okay for me to be maskless here
Yeah.
and have to put
Right.
on my show somewhere else?
Yeah. Imagine your child asking you questions about like the moon, the sky, the birds. Imagine our questions as a kid. It was around, why do I have to wear a hijab? We are going to a museum. How old is she? I was a tall girl. I was younger than I look like, but they require me to wear a hijab, but to go to see a museum. I was always baffled, never understood what's happening. I still don't.
What do you I mean, obviously you're someone who's decided to be vocal and take a stand. What is that?
Oh, yeah.
And just our last few moments here. I mean, what is that with what you've experienced and where you've come from? And now you're an American. This is your country. You're here.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you in terms of standing up against what you see as tyranny and this your children and this baby that you're carrying, and what
Yeah.
what's your thoughts there moving forward? What can you leave us with?
Well, I'm never going to be silenced. Anybody that wants to block me and unfollow me, they can. But I've reached a lot of new people that have actually are new to this whole thing. This year, wake them up. They're awakened because of what happened. A lot of good came out of what happened, to be honest with you.
I agree.
A lot of lions woke up, So I'm all about waking up the lions. I'm going to raise my children with the love of God in their hearts, loving the Constitution, honoring the flag, loving this country, and of course, my mother country, because we are all connected. Nothing's separated in this world. We are all, people thought they're separated, but we are not. We are realizing how connected we are. So I'm going to be the best mother I can to protect them, at the same time to raise them aware and hopefully make a better world for them in the future, for the future.
Something you just said just spurred a thought. Can you imagine? I was having this conversation with someone the other day. I don't know that this has ever happened in human history. Do you realize whenever COVID happened last March and the entire world shut down all at one time, and we all complied with all, I really don't think in all of human history that's ever happened before, that the entire world came together in one mindset.
Yeah. It was a collective thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So imagine, just imagine with me for a moment, like you said, this has awakened, and I believe I'm with you on that. This has awakened the lions. It has awakened those who love God. It has awakened those who understand freedom. It has awakened those who are willing to stand up for tyranny. Now imagine if the opposite happened. Imagine if all of us, if all the lions could collectively, because you were saying we're connected, and we are. We do live. A lot of people don't like that or whatever, but the truth is we live in a global society. We are. And I love my country. I love America first. I'm all about all of that. But we're connected. Internet, airplanes, whatever. And can you imagine if all of the people like you and me all of a sudden woke up together around the world and stood up against tyranny?
They are afraid of that. That's why they don't want us to be connected. I have friends in Iran that I met through internet, through this movement. They love America. They're fighting for America in Iran because they know how everything's connected. It
Wow.
amazes me that Iranians in Iran supporting President Trump, supporting everything that we are talking about here, but Iranians here don't see it.
So you would say
Crazy.
there's a large group of Iranians in
Yes.
Iran
Hmm.
fighting for America because they know that as
Yeah.
America goes, so goes the
The whole
world.
world goes. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
God help us. Be
God
with
help
us.
us.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Shima, I'm so thankful for your time and just
Of
you
course.
sharing your perspective. I think it's so incredibly important for people to see. Thank you for standing. Thank you for
Yeah.
being a lion.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary.
Yeah,
Thank you and your whole organization. It's amazing. I'm so glad I connected to Tennessee Stands when I did.
we are too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, hey, thank y'all for
Thanks.
joining us and watching this video. Please make sure if you haven't to go to tennesseestands.org and hit the subscribe button and ensure that you are signed up on our email list. And I know a lot of you don't like to do this, but trust me, your data is private. We do not share your data. Give us your address because, look, we're coming into another legislative session. And by the way, next year is 2022. And there's a lot of voting, a lot of things that are going to need to happen next year that we want to engage with you across the state. So please sign up and continue to follow us. And thanks again for following Tennessee Stands.